Hi there, I'm Heather Plett, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you open and close your circle. The opening and closing is really an opportunity to create that container for the conversation. It kind of sets the tone and um, it helps you shift things at the beginning and then in the end. At the beginning, you want to shift away from the kind of chit chat that will happen when people gather in a room, and you want to help people shift into a place where the conversation becomes more intentional and more and a little deeper. So if there is some kind of a physical shift of moving into the chairs, but then there's also some kind of a shift that signals to people we're now going to dive into a deeper place of listening more intentionally, speaking with greater intention around our words and what we share in this circle. So the ways that you can do that, one of the ways that we often open circle is to use a tingsha bell or some form of sound maker. It may be a singing bowl, or there's other kinds of ways you can make sound. There's even electronic apps that you can find that will make a similar sound. And ringing that bell just gives people that moment to pause. And I will often invite people to really listen as it rings out, and it invites you to slow your breathing a little bit. And as your breathing slows, you enter into a different way to have conversation, a slower way to have conversation that you connect on a deeper level. And then once you've rung the bell, and you can do it a couple of times to bring people into the circle and to give that pause, to create that shift into the next piece, into the conversation. What we often do in circle is to invite people to read a poem. Perhaps whoever's hosting or a person that you've invited will read something special, a poem or a reading or something. And again, that's about slowing down, that's about setting an intention. Sometimes that poem will be the jumping off point for conversations. One of my favorites is to read a blessing from John O'Donohue's book, To Bless the Space Between Us. So that might be a way to bring people into shifting the energy a little bit and blessing our time together in conversation. You can choose what works for your circle. It doesn't have to be a poem or a blessing, but some way to signal again we are now moving into conversation, and we are using this to shift our bodies, our minds, and our hearts into a space where we are more intentional. At the closing, we usually again ring the bell, but before that you may want to find some way again of shifting back into the leaving of the circle, whether that's a closing reading perhaps. One of the things that my women's circle will do is often at the end we will pass the talking piece around for an intention round. So each person will take the talking piece and say what their intention is for the week. Or you may want to have a closing round around, what's the word that you're carrying with you from this conversation. But it just really helps you create intention around that space and around the conversation and around the opportunity to connect in a different, deeper level.